Testing 1, 2. Is this on? Is this on? Is this on? Yeah, it is. Well, folks, here we are on a Saturday afternoon, and it's good to see everyone here. My name is Tony Hatt, and we've seen some familiar faces here. Most of the smiles on there are cut off because you're wearing masks. But just some quick housekeeping notes. Anybody here with the last name Smith? Smith? All right. I just want to make sure, all right? No Will Smith in here tonight, eh? Or today, right? No? Okay. Just want to make sure. You gotta clarify that, but if anybody comes late with the last name Smith, Kelly here is going to make sure that I'm okay. This is a celebration, so today we are actually going to have a celebration that is going to be unique, a celebration that Clifford would have loved, and would probably, before I left, Janice says to me, I'm sure he's looking down and he's smiling at all of us and laughing that kiki laugh that he had. Yeah. So it's good to see everyone here today, and I just want to say that we've not been able to gather in large groups for more than 2 years. And today we're here to celebrate the life of someone who in many ways brought together people as a mentor, a school teacher, an entertainer, and just for a good line sometimes. His name is Clifford Lionel Michael Richards, also known as the Mighty Fee. He taught biology, chemistry, and science over the years as an educator, and he was the Calypso King of Manitoba in 1985. Cliff did not want this occasion to be a somber one. He wanted it to be a celebration to provide a unique opportunity of something truly special to bring a joyful, distinctive feeling to today. And today we will celebrate the life of this giant of a man. And anyone who knew Clifford also knew he was bigger than life. He was a good friend to many of us and a great colleague. The character of the life he lived might be summed up in a few words. He was sincere, he was earnest, and he was loyal. He was philosophic in many ways, as he would say on that kitchen table. We is we, and after we is weevils. Think about that philosophy, the philosophic words, the meaning behind that. That was Cliff. Every time he came across, he had something like that to say, and you had to think about it. We will miss a highly intelligent, vibrant individual with a rare friendliness and charm of personality. But today we will celebrate it as he wanted us to. This is a wonderful celebration of a life well lived. Clifford would have loved this. Let us begin the celebration. So, we are thinking about what Clifford would be doing. And I think that as Clifford approached the pearly gates up there, when you go up there, you have to answer some questions to St. Peter. And St. Peter would ask you these questions before you come in. And Cliff, being the philosopher that he was ready for the questions. St. Peter says, well, Clifford, you've been a teacher and an educator. Tell me, what days of the week begin with the letter T? And Clifford laughed. That's easy. Today and tomorrow. But St. Peter says, no. But because it's you, Clifford, I'll give you another question. How many seconds are in the year? Clifford, being the science teacher that he is, quickly answered, there's 12. St. Peter says, how did you arrive at 12? He says, it's 2nd of January, 2nd of February, 2nd of March. And that is Clifford. That was Clifford, and that's how he embraced life and how things were with him. And right now, I would like to turn over the microphone, if you're ready, Mr. Lamette. Where is Rudy Lamette? Ah, there he is. Would you like to come and say a few words?
Well, I have one and a few words to say. Good to see you, Tony.
Good to see you, sir.
It's kind of clean.
It's good to see you.
Nothing going on the top, boy.
Rudy has been a minister at the St. Mary's Cathedral downtown for many, many years. And one day I was fortunate enough to go into the church. And as I was sitting there, the devil approached. The devil came into this loud smoke, black smoke. And everybody cleared out of the church except for Rudy and the Trinidadian. The devil says, well, Rudy, I know we are in the house of the God of Lord, and I can appreciate the fact that you are a man of God, and you wouldn't run away from me. You're not scared of me. But I want to know, why is that Trinidadian guy still sitting there in front of the devil? The Trinidadian guy uncrossed his legs, and he says, devil, once you see one, you've seen all. I've lived with your sister for 36 years.
Did you take my card or something like that? This one? Yeah, give me mine. Well, good evening. First of all, at least what I need to say, one day I'm thankful you asked me to say a few words. And I'm also thankful so many people are here to reminisce, reflect, and think of our dear friend Richard, Cliff Richards. Actually, at least with the sort of presentations that were sort of been going on, at least I came in a different context in terms of probably what I need to say or wanted to say at least. And I spent a lot of time the last 2 days saying, what on earth could I say about Cliff Richards at least? But then I felt that if I had to say anything about Cliff Richards, it's not I come to sort of deal about his legacy. You know. I think at least I want to say something about the context in which he lived. When you look at it, first of all, my first reflection is that life and death ride together. They're just good partners, at least. And the time you're born, death is riding with you. And in reflecting on that, I thought about the lines of two poems. One is the glories of our blood and state, passing things. There is no armor against the faith. Death lays his icy hands on kings. Scepter and crown will tumble down, and in the dust be equal made with the poor crooked side and spade. And then there's another poem, at least the Solitary Reaper, which is whenever the theme, I saw this maiden cutting and binding a grain, and as she went on, she sang the melancholy strain. And as she reached the top of the hill, the poet says, the music that she left, singing and mounting the hills, was left in his heart long after it was heard no more. So to put us in some sort of perspective, at least, is like, when each one of us is born, we come out of the womb, and coming out of the womb, or even before we come out of the womb, some theologians believe that we receive the gift. There's a certain point while we're in the womb that we receive the kiss of God. And the kiss of God is significant, and I'll probably talk about that a little later on. But when we are pushed out of the womb, we initially feel a point of being abandoned. And yet, as we sort of get the spank on our butt, and we are nurtured, and we're nurtured in a healthy manner, the world opens up to us, and we see the gifts that we have and that we can use in terms of what is physical, in terms of the universe and thinking about it, psychological and spiritual. And, you know, this great gift that we have allows us to sort of find ourselves and put ourselves in a certain context in which we sort of unravel at least the gift and all that we receive because of the divine mind that has called us into being. I sort of visualized that when Cliff was leaving home, I could, in my imagination, see Cliff's family gathered at Piarco's airport, and everyone was excited, at least. He's off, at least, and he's going to do great things, at least. But in the excitement, there was a sense of pain, a sense of loss. And a sense that when probably a lot of us who came out here as students at a certain point, we had that notion of being abandoned. Once you got on that plane and you got to the airport, at least the first airport you landed, you felt that sense of being a stranger. Everything is different, at least. And then when you sort of come to the point where you seem to terminate your journey, and what is sort of paradoxical about it, at least, is that the place that we ended up with is being in Moose Jaw. And I never thought he really started off in Moose Jaw, at least. I thought he started off around Saskatoon. And while he's in Saskatoon, at least, the mighty Fee had a different name, okay? The mighty Fee was wearing a shirt. I don't think he had a tie on, at least, but well, presenting himself, he looking good at this. But his nickname was Pots and Pans. And the reason he got that nickname, Pots and Pans, was primarily he was selling high-end culinary pots, and poor Cliff was going around selling pots and pans. But I figured that if he ended up at Moose Jaw and in Saskatchewan, there were really 3 hospitals for dealing with people who had mental problems. You either went to Weyburn, Moose Jaw, or North Battleford. And perhaps at North Battleford, I think, Clint learned something to be really, he could empathize with people, and he could go beyond that point of being able to empathize to be compassionate. And maybe on the flip side of that, there's another part that probably Cliff developed at one point. Cliff was good at and very good at articulating and blowing off steam in foreign languages. What was really remarkable about his foreign languages is several years ago, his cousin was in town, and he was quite a gentle fellow. He said, I approached him and I said, tell me something at least. Like, I think I know your aunt at least, and your aunt is Elsie Richards. He said, yeah. And Elsie Richards is a very, very well-behaved lady. very prim and proper, at least. So I went to Cliff and I said, Cliff, for your aunt's sake, what's your language? and we had a great time, at least, sort of teasing each other. And there are many things we did together, at least there were times, at least when on one occasion he was driving his car and it went on the median on Broadway, and he was at one point also getting quite a few tickets. So I had to tell him, let's hustle up and get the car off the median, because I don't know which ticket you'd get, if you'd get a ticket for reckless driving or probably having to deal with the breathalyzer, okay? He was good when it came to the breathalyzer, because we would sit down from time to time on a weekend. He'd pop over at my place and with Selwyn, and we'd ski, whiskey, we'd have some whiskey. And at one point, which is, again, at least I don't know how many of you remember, when Cliff played a priest. Anyone is aware of that? When he played in the band Zapata, when he sort of opened up here with, in Caripeg at least, and he came in a black robe and he looked perfect for the portrayal of the priest in Viva Zapata. And then in Viva Zapata there was, Capey was in the band at least. And Capey had a big hat, and Selwyn at least pulled Capey's hat, and he was very annoyed at least, and then friendship started wavering and so on. Just sort of, I didn't plan to come to an end right now, but he said, but I think I would do that by saying, Cliff came here and he made a significant contribution. And one of the people I need to sort of point out is that Cliff told me, his good buddy was, Dr. Tomey. And he says, I really helped Dr. Tomey with his biology so he could get into medicine and so on. And then in many situations, people have told me how good a teacher he was. And above all, at least, he was a kind guy, even though when you get past the noise, he was loving. And when he got past the noise, on a certain level at least, with that kiss that he received, that he would sort of encounter his soulmate. I tell you, for goodness sake, at least, with all that went on in terms of romance, at least, he ultimately found his soulmate. And maybe I need to close with a reflection that one year I was here, at least with Cliff at a funeral, and Father Gary Cullen was doing the ceremony at least. And while Cliff was here, he nudged at me and he was very impressed by Father Jerry Cullen. And he said, wow, at least, I like that at least. It sounds good at least. And then I figure what I'll do in a moment is read the words that he listened to, that you can listen to and be appreciative of the depth of his own spiritual relationship in spite of all the disguise that was around it. I'll read the reading from the book of Revelation. I didn't come to preach here, but I just came This is what Father Gary Cullen read that impressed Cliff deeply. Now I see a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth has been passed away. Also, there is no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city of heaven before God, prepared as a bride adorned for a husband. And I heard a loud voice of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them, and he's God. And for I'll wipe away every tear from his eyes. There shall be no more death, no more sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. And he said to him, Write, for these words are true. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega. You know, initially what I said in terms of coming out of mother's womb, back at least, and the reason that this passage seems so powerful to me is that with death being a constant companion, all of us have to sort of go through at the end death, which is a womb that brings us to new life, brings us to new beginning. And it's the beginning in the next world is far more exciting than what we've seen here. And I ask God to sort of give my brother the joy that he heard with Father, the brightness of a new world that is incomprehensible and cannot be compared to anything we've seen. You know, I love Chris. I love Phil. Clifford. He used to call me Dolphus, at least. And there was a gentleness in him. And I'll give you one last reflection. When we were kids back in Trinidad, there was a funeral parlor, and the funeral parlor was very close to the mortuary. We didn't call it a mortuary, at least we called it a dead house. And there was a man who was always around the dead house, and before you knew your family was dead, he was there to let you know they were dead. No, and he was a frightening person to see, at least. And then, you know, you when you see him, you wonder which house he's going to, at least, or you want to go the other way, at least. But then when I was about 12 years old, I got really damn tired of seeing this man, at least. And his nickname was Smeller Dead, at least. So he could sniff them out. And I said to him, I called him when I was 12 years old, I said, Smeller Dead. And he was shocked to hear this kid calling him Smeller Dead. But what that did for me was it gave me some reassurance that I wasn't afraid of him. And I was no longer afraid, at least. He could go wherever he wanted, at least, but I know what he was all about. But it really, in the last little while, in reflecting on Cliff's death, you know, Smeller Dead, at least, has never frightened us. But then, as Cliff would say, we became compassionate to this man. That was a hell of a job to have to do. And we wonder how he slept at night. But then we were compassionate. I reflected on Cliff and around the Will Smith and The Rock, and I figure Cliff would have given a little thing to say, when you're going to get fatigue, there are certain things you don't do, at least. You don't talk about my mother, you don't talk about my sister. And if you talk about that, at least I can bust you up, okay? And then you wonder, you know, you wonder at least Cliff would be talking to Peter and saying, you know, them boys stupid no ass, he says, you know. He said, them boys stupid no ass, he says. He said, you know, look, they got to go and look like at Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, even though Belafonte couldn't sing Calypso, but Cliff was better than that. And, you know, he says, you know, like, Poitier had the right approach. He got the title to Sir with Love, and he was knighted as a Sir. And it was really pathetic, at least Cliff would say, to see two black brothers making a damn fool of themselves. You know, maybe I'm in touchy water. But Cliff, I did what I can. I love you. And I'll carry you always in my prayer. God loves you. And peace to all of you. Yeah.
You have my card.
Oh, I'm going to run around the block with it.
Just some housekeeping notes. There's a gray Kia, license plate KXP 912 on Broadway, parked in front of the bus stop. You need to move your car. You know, we'll wait for you. We'll wait for you, that's okay. Take your time. Thanks, Rudy. Rudy has that unique accent. You notice it? Most Trinidadians, when they speak like, maybe a little bit like me, but Rudy has that unique accent that his voice travels right across the room and you feel you're talking to God. You feel like you're in the presence of God. Like, seriously, when Rudy, back in maybe 55 years ago, back in 1971, I think, Rudy, when I came up in 1968. I was running wild here probably 1969 and 1970, and you used to pull me up all the time and tell me, you got to behave yourself. You wouldn't last very long here if you don't behave yourself. And he didn't have the accent at that time, though. The accent was developed from preaching in front of being a minister and running the ministry. Speaking of that accent, he was in a hotel room one time, and he called up room service and he said, can I get some pepper? And room service very honestly asked him, well, is it black pepper or white pepper you want? And Rudy was in the bathroom. He says, no, I need toilet pepper. Unique accent, sir. Are we still celebrating? Good. And you feel the energy in here? Yeah, Cliff is laughing, boy. He's having a great time. Oh, yeah. I remember one time I was in the kitchen there, and, we used to have these unique gatherings in the kitchen. Yeah? Cliff used to call it the yard. Right, Kelly? You come into the yard, and he and Wanda was celebrating, I think it was their 20th anniversary or something like that. And he asked Wanda, he says, Wanda, what do you want for your anniversary? So Wanda says, well, let me think. She says, how about if we run upstairs and have sex? So he turns to Wanda and he says, listen, make up your mind, I can't do both. I can't run up the stairs and then expect to. That was Cliff. He was to the point. He was to the point. He made you, feel good. Right, Wanda? Rudy Lamette, nice guy. Thank you. Keep me in your prayers, right? You know that. I've always been good. Okay. Right now, I'd like to ask some of the children to come up. Kelly, Sharisa, can you come and say a few words? So, not just a few, but as long as you want to.
Well. I guess most of you know who I am. I'm Cliff's son. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody for coming today to celebrate the life of our father, the mighty Fee. This Christmas has been hard for our family. For close to 30 years, we always went to my dad and Wanda's house to break bread. On every holiday, Wanda cooked up a feast where the Richards and the Mackenzie clan got to eat and spend time together. Obviously, with COVID, the last couple of years we couldn't get together, and I'm going to miss those days. Clifford Richards wore many hats in life. First, as a father, he had 3 children, Kenny, myself, and my sister, Sharisa. Today, he's with his son, Kenny, our brother, and I'm sure they're looking down, like Tony said, and you know they're drinking. There's no doubt about that. Secondly, as a teacher, where he taught in Stonewall for 29 years. A few days ago, I read the obituaries of Clifford Lionel Michael Richards, and I scrolled down and I went to the comments, and I was amazed and I was proud. That was a good one. I was amazed and I was proud at the comments and the love and the words that his students said of him. I mean, I knew Cliffy was a good teacher, but the accolades from the students and the other teachers and friends of his were beautiful. It brought tears to my eyes. For many years, I've heard that for many years, when I heard that someone was from Stonewall, I always asked if they knew my father, and of course they did. For the last few years of working at Hydro and traveling around the Interlake, a lot of people remembered him. One of my coworkers heard me talking about my dad, and she had told me that both her daughters were taught by my dad. Both said that he was a great teacher. My dad worked so long in Stonewall that he taught students and then taught their kids. So that was a little while. Kids would go home and complain to their parents about a teacher was making them do extra work. The parents would ask which one of the teachers they were talking about, and they would say, Mr. Richards. And the parents just told them to do their work because they knew. And thirdly, Clifford was an entertainer. He loved to dress up in real cool costumes. And play mass. One year he was a soldier, then one year an admiral. Another year, I got to play mass with him. We were pirates. It was awesome, awesome playing mass with him and all the Trinities. I forgot one thing. I forgot one year, one of my dad's classes scored the highest mark provincially in science. He was proud. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and Well, Pops, rest in peace, man. Peace and love. I love you.
Thanks, Kelly. Sharisa, do you want to? No? You're okay. Mr. Prime?
Good afternoon. My name is Mervyn Prime, who, for over 25 years, was a fellow teacher with Clifford Richards at Stonewall Collegiate Institute, and a former head coach of the West Indian soccer team in Winnipeg, with the Mighty Fee as president. To you, Wanda, to you, Kelly, and to you, close relatives and friends, may I say this. It is a pity that it has taken an occasion like this to bring us all together at this time. An occasion in life which we must all someday face. For some, expected, and for others, unexpected. But Dame Fortune plays no favorites, as it deals a heavy hand to all and sundry, rich and poor, free and bond, healthy and unhealthy. During my discourse, you might sometimes hear me describe Mr. Richards as the Mighty Fee, other times simply as the Fee. Should I say Fee and omit the title Mighty, it is in no way an attempt to discredit him or deflate his honor, but simply to show that he was a man of many-sidedness. The Mighty Fee was not given to us for all time. Now that he is gone, may I suggest that we accept the things we cannot change and be thankful that he no longer languishes in pain, but is now at peace. Most prominent on a tombstone or an epitaph are simply, first, the name of the deceased, the date of birth, followed by a dash, then the date of death. Please allow me for you to get an understanding of the fee. Please allow me, therefore, to present a snippet of that dash. Some of you, geezers as I, might recall the era when high schools competed in an academic game called Reach for the Top, a game similar to modern-day Jeopardy. No one even chanced glance at me. Among the 30-plus students at the collegiate, it was a Mighty Fee who was given the honor, the task, the burden, to discipline the students and prepare the scholastic team to victory. The mighty fees concerned for the poor, the destitute, the downtrodden, and the less fortunate ran so deep that soon after accepting a position at the high school, he formed a UNESCO club to help raise funds for the needy children in foreign countries. Satisfaction was guaranteed, as the students at the collegiate were able to raise enough funds to help feed the newly adopted children in foreign countries. The fee, Margaret, are you there? I might say something that's not so altogether right. The fee once chaired the Intellect School Board to help negotiate teachers' salaries. One year, with the fee at the helm, negotiations were taking a precipitous decline, or precipitous nosedive, with teachers threatening to work the rule and ending extracurricular activities. The final day for negotiation had come, and the mighty fee, relinquishing his heavy afro, came to school sporting dreadlocks, an adornment new to the students at the collegiate. When I inquired the reason for the change of dress, in a guttural voice he grunted, "Today is the last day for negotiation, and the trustees will see the baddest man in the country." Please allow me to quote from former First Lady Michelle Obama. "When they go deep, we go high." The mighty fee followed the principle, for at the end of the day, salary negotiations were amicably settled, and school returned to normalcy. The fee was a no-nonsense person, a self-declared best high school science teacher in the province, one who saw no gray. It was either black or white. This caring, this selfless, this thoughtful and kind individual, bedridden, unable to drive, rather than sell his favorite limousine, donated the prized possession to cancer care. Please stand. The fee's first and most adored Calypso was ice, ice, snow and ice. I tell you, this thing and ice. Ice, ice, ice and snow. Give me the land of the Calypso. Some of you knew it, so let's sing. Ice, ice, snow and ice. I tell you this thing and ice is ice, ice, ice and snow. Give me the land of the Calypso. Now, this is a celebration. So let's celebrate. Okay. Let's go. You may swing it to us, so I don't care. Ice, ice, snow and ice. I tell you the thing on ice. Ice, ice, ice and snow. Give me the land of the Calypso. Okay. You may say it. Thank you. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, rest in peace, dear brother. Goodbye, my friend. Goodbye. Parting is indeed sweet sorrow. If we meet again, we will smile. If not, then this parting is well made.
Thank you. Okay.
That's a mighty feat. Ice and snow, snow and ice. Ice, snow, Calypso. Ice, snow and ice. Ice, snow and ice. Calypso! Calypso! Yes! The mighty fee. Oh yeah. Ice and snow. He was a Calypso monarch here in 1987, 85? 85. And yeah, he was an ingenious fellow though. Clifford was ingenious, you know, like he always had a way of getting his way subtly. Correct. When he retired from the teaching service here, he had to collect his Canada pension. And he went downtown. At that time, you had to go downtown and apply for it. Now you can do it online. And he was in the line and got up to the counter, and the lady at the counter says, Mr. Richards, I need to see some ID that you're over 70 years old. You claim to be over 70, but I need to see some ID. So he dug around in his pocket and he couldn't find his wallet. So he said, look, I am genuinely over 70 years old. And the lady said, well, I need to see something, prove it. And he said, oh, you know, okay. And he opened up his shirt. He showed her his gray hairs. And at that time, he was wearing the dreadlocks. He took off his hat and he showed her the gray dreadlocks. He was so excited, he came home, well, she approved it, and he came home and he said to Wanda, listen, guess what I did today? You know, and he had a big smile. He says, I got my pension. She says, well, how do you do that? You left your wallet home. She says, well, I opened my shirt, I showed her my gray hair, and I showed her the gray hair on my head, and, you know, she gave me my pension. And Wanda, being Wanda, who she is, Clifford, why didn't you drop your pants and get disability pension one time? That was Clifford. Now, I'm telling you, these are true stories. And the students that are here today could attest to that. In school in Stonewall, he was Mr. Richards, but when he was in the yard, he was the fee. So right now, as we move along with this wonderful celebration, and I could see that people are getting excited about the open mic. So if there are any, and please come up and give us stories of the mighty Fee or Clifford Richards as you have known him, and share it with us, please.
So I'm Deacon Rudy's daughter. I never knew Fee's name was Cliff Richards, I think, till I was about 30. He would come and visit, and he was like one of our all-time favorite guests to come over. He was always so much fun, and he would just make us laugh. And anyway, when I was, I think, around 10 years old, we got a German short-haired pointer. And I don't know if he was scared of dogs in general or if it was just in general, okay. And our dogs always were very good at barking at people when they came to the house. So we closed the door and we put him in the kitchen, or put him in the kitchen and closed the door. The dog. And Cliff goes into the living room, you know, with my dad. And when he was getting up to leave, I snuck up behind him, and I grabbed his ankle like this, and I went, rah, 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 rah. And I didn't know he was a religious man, but he screamed out, oh God, Lord Jesus, save me! Anyway, he was so much fun. Like, he was like, honestly, he was like our all-time favorite friend of my dad's that would come over, and it was always so much fun. So I'm glad that he touched our lives. He was an amazing fellow. He was a good guy. Thanks.
Well, people, my name is Louis Eiffel. Every year I used to call Fee to wish him a happy birthday, largely because I was born on September the 26th, and he was born on September the 29th. So I always used to call him and say, a happy birthday. However, over the last maybe 3 to 5 years, my partner, Susan, and myself always used to go to Fee's house to spend an afternoon with him. Generally, we chose a very sunny day, and we sat at the back of the house, And it was a very beautiful kind of a setting with the sun shining down on us. And we always used to look at the garden which Wanda kind of prepared. And at the end of the evening, Wanda will pick up some of our vegetables and give to us. But Fee and I, we go back for quite a long time. We go back to the days of what some of us might remember being called Spitfire, the soccer team Spitfire. We go back to that. I'm remembering Spitfire had a game at what is called, I think, the old recreation center, that place on near off Main Portage. I don't remember what street it was. But the point I'm getting at is, at the game itself, it was the early stage of Spitfire, and Spitfire was playing a team that I think was a Portuguese team. And somehow, Spitfire, being a new team and a team of all black players, used to get a pretty rough time from not only the referees, but sometimes some of the other players who he played with. And I remember at this particular occasion, we were getting a rough kind of treatment, and suddenly, without any sort of request by everybody just ran off the stand and ran on the field itself, and the Portuguese players, they kind of just ran away, and there it was, this group of women, kids, men from the black community running behind them. Now, I remember Fee was there, and I exactly don't know at all where Fee got a hammer. But Fee had this hammer in his hand, and I want to assure you, I do not conclude from that Fee was an aggressive guy, but he had his hammer, Now, I had a similar experience with that with him some months after, when I belonged to a group called the Black Action Movement, and we were trying to do a play on Nat Turner, the great Nat Turner. I invited Fee to come to the play, but he didn't come to it. In fact, we were doing it at Tech Rock. He didn't come to the play, but he decided to come to the get-together at the house at which we lived after the play. Now, we lived in a house on Wardlaw, and that house had a clear basement, an empty basement where we intend to gather. Over the basement, the guy who occupied it was a white guy, and then above him, there were about 4 of us. One of Fee's great friends, black man, he used to call him Blacks, he used to call Blacks. Myself, a South African brother of mine called Trevor Fowler, and an African-American sister by the name of Shirley Williams. So Fee came to the event, and lo and behold, the white guy living on the lower floor, he went across to Osborne to the pubs, and he told the people at the pub about the social having in his house. And lo and behold, we started seeing a whole set of people just coming into the house, into the basement. And we got very disturbed at that, I'm talking about almost 50, 60 people coming into the basement, And right there, some of us got very upset. And what actually caused them to leave was one of the members of our group, a guy from Barbados by the name of Fred. He was in a short pants, nothing on, no top, and he had one of the props we had in the play Nat Turner, which was a gun, a rifle. And he came down with the rifle, and then I heard this white guy said, "Hey, look at that guy, he got a gun." And from the time the word got around, everybody started bailing out. And we started bailing out. Then Fee came down and he said, Louis, I'm looking for something, but I can't find anything. All I find is this teacup, you know. So Fee came with this teacup in his hand to defend himself, you know. So, I mean, and that was really an experience with him, you know. The other very nice experience I had with Cliff was that every year, his buddy and my own called Malcolm Smart used to visit him. Malcolm Smart used to live in Winnipeg here in a house where a number of us used to live, including a very good friend who used to play the steel band. You know, the Sween, Selwyn McSween. And Malcolm Smart, one of the things I like very much, every time Malcolm Smart came into the city, he phoned me because he actually stayed by Fee when he came to the city. And I must sort of say that is now the deceased Malcolm Smart. Quite unfortunately, he died. But whenever he came, he called me and I went down there and I spent hours with himself and Fee, and we used to carry on a lot of conversations on a particular Trinidadian who both Malcolm and myself really appreciated. A Trinidadian by the name of CLR James, Cyril Lionel Robert James, who was a major writer, playwright, a major figure, not only in the Caribbean, but in the whole world, even the African world, in the sense that CLR James had a major role to play in the independence of Ghana, for example, and he actually organized the 6th Pan-African Conference, which took place in Tanzania. But Malcolm and myself will talk about that. And I remember when I came here to Winnipeg, I bought a book. In fact, I shouldn't say I bought it. My partner, Susan, bought a book in Toronto from, I think, the Third World Bookstore called Modern Politics. And she gave me a copy of that book, which I read. It was actually written by CLR James. And interestingly, CLR James, in writing that book, Modern Politics, Malcolm himself, the friend of Cliff and myself, Malcolm was actually in Trinidad and went to the different presentations which was done at the library in Trinidad by CLR James. So, and the book that Susan gave me had all the speeches that CLR James did was in that book. So I found it so very fortunate that here, you know, Fee and myself and Malcolm will be sitting and Malcolm will be talking about that. And I could tell Malcolm that I have a copy of that book. So there was that aspect about Fee, which I really appreciated. He liked to engage very much in these so-called intellectual discussions having to do a lot with the future of the black world. And I was very pleased to join with him and Malcolm and talk about all the discussions around CLR James, who very recently, a Trinidadian by the name of Booker Rainey, I don't know if you have heard that name, but Booker Rainey was one of those students who went to the Sir George Williams University, and at the time, there was an outbreak of racism that a number of the students there, Caribbean students, complained about the university, which led to a major event in Trinidad and Tobago. And Booker himself was the only student who refused to be re-registered in another university. Many of the other students, efforts were made to re-register them at the University of the West Indies. Well, Booker wrote a book very recently called Remembering and Understanding CLR James, which I would certainly like to recommend that to all of us who are interested in the Caribbean or interested in Trinidad to get a copy of. It's a very recently written book, but this is the kind of thing that Fee sat by, participated, and really appreciated the discussions that we used to have on CLR James, as well as many other topics. Fee, my brother, who I love very much, thank you.
Yeah, let's have some other people come up here. But just to lighten the moment for a minute, we all grew up here. Like I came here when I was 18 years old, and we were growing up here, and we all looked up to a lot of the people within the community, and Clifford was one of them. I remember the first time that I came here, Fee, he gave me the lecture. He gave me, Rudy and they would all lecture to you about how to conduct yourself properly here within this environment. And Fee took me to a pharmacy, and he says, well, listen, I gotta show you this. This is Canada now, and you have to protect yourself. When you're having sex, you have to protect yourself. So he took me over to the shelves where all the condoms were. That was Fee. So I'm confused, a Trinidadian in this pharmacy, very confused. So I said to Fee, well, I see a 3-pack, I see a 6-pack, I see a 12-pack. What's the difference? What is it for? He says, my friend, the 3-pack is for when you're going to school, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The 6-pack is when you reach university, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, too. I says, oh, what's a 12-pack for? He says, when you reach my age, January, February, March, April.
Anyway, I can't top that, so don't expect me to. My name is Ken Atherton, and I'm one of the people that came here kind of late, 1984. But I lived in Saskatoon before that, so I'm not really late to Canada. When I came here, the first person I met was Fee. We were drinking, of course. So he said to me, he always chopped up the name, Totten. My name is Ken Atherton, a nice Scottish name. He said, Totten, what the hell happened to your boy? He said, listen, man, you have to be able to mix with people in this place. Black and white, they have no problem, really, is the other thing, So I wonder what the hell this thing is. He said, boy, if you walk down the street and a native man call you an N-word, you just look at him and you walk away. If the white man call you an N-word, you do the same thing. So I said to myself, boy, it's a matter of hiding all the time. I can't say anything, I can't do anything. But anyway, we used to have these conversations around the square table, not the round table. And the people that were there all the time was Tony, myself, the departed Soapy, remember Soapy, Kathy, and Wanda, and Jip. Where are you, boy? And we always had a lot of conversation while we were drinking, of course. So, they went a little bit askew sometimes. And one day we decided, hey, we're going to form this group to, we call it Play Mass. So Soapy sat down there and he said, I said, listen, man, you don't have to always wear fancy costumes and whatnot. We could always be like sailors. So we could wear the same costume every year. So Soapy said, okay, we're going to call it the Naughty Nauticals. And we formed this group called the Naughty Nauticals. I said, well, hey, what's happening now? He said, Totten, you take care of that. That's the way he was all the time. He always delegated something to somebody, in order to make sure that it came to fruition. Talking about his students and whatnot, he had a lot of students, the good ones, the bad ones, and the ugly ones. So he, for you guys who don't know, I worked at Stony Mountain as an officer up there. And I met quite a few of the bad ones. There was this guy called Sawatsky. He said, you know Sawats, boy? You know Sawats? I say, yeah. So what was a big guy, you know, really big. And to tell you the truth, his influence that he had on Sawatsky, as I talked to the guy in the police, came to fruition in that jail. Sawatsky turned his life around, and he became a football player that played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I remember that situation when Sawatsky came to me and said, you know, Mr. Fee, the greatest teacher of all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's have some more memories here and about him. Any students here wanna give some references from school or any other, how Mr. Richards conducted himself in school? Because he was a different fellow in school, you know. In school, and then at home, it was two different characters. But they were both genuine. They were both genuine. Both of them were very genuine. And Clifford was a real mentor in everything. I mean, you know, me growing up here at 18 years old, I wasn't the most responsible fella. I did a lot of things that... But, you know, but you mature. Now I'm in my mid-70s. I think I have matured. I'm not sure. I got to sometimes knock wood. But, yeah. So let's hear from Mr. Ozzie Bell.
Yeah, my name is Ozzie Bell, and I've been a friend of Cliff for a long time. Started about 1959 or 60 when I first came up. And I saw a bit of him lately because he was part of that group that met for lunch at the Viscount Court on a regular basis, kind of a dwindling group these days. So anyhow, what I'll just tell you is a brief story about Cliff from the old days when we first came up and we were all struggling with the winter. And in those days, we didn't have the proper clothing that we do now for winter. And we wouldn't have known what to buy anyway, because we like shining our shoes and having silk socks. And when your shoes were shining, you didn't want to cover them up. So, you know, guys got frozen ankles and so forth. So one day we were complaining, but this gives you an idea of how Cliff can put things in perspective. So we were complaining about the weather. And Cliff, being philosophical, he said, well, guys, the way you have to look at it, or words along that line, is that the sun in Canada is like a bulb in a refrigerator. It's there for light and not heat. So that helps us put things in perspective.
Mr. Bell. Anyone else? Let's have some sharing here. Jip, why don't you come up and say a couple of words about your experiences in the yard? You okay? Is there anyone else who wants to come up and share some of their experiences? Let's have a little bit. Oh, here we go. This looks like Rachel, is it? Yeah, okay.
My name is Rachel Atherton. I'm Kenny's wife, and I'm not going to try and top him because I know he knew Fee much longer than I did, obviously. I met Cliff because of Ken, and the first time that I met Cliff, Ken and I were just now dating, and I was not accustomed to the Trinidadian accent, the Trinidadian food, the Trinidadian carrying on. I was like naive, born and bred in the Canadian prairies. So when we're sitting around the table and everyone is drinking and I'm trying to assess what is happening here, and the mighty Fee sitting at the corner of the table, the end of the table, and hey, pass me them quids. Quids? What the hell are the quids? I had to think. Oh, the liquids. Okay, the booze. Okay, I got that, you know. And all night I'm trying to catch on to all these different slangs, but Cliff was different because he chopped the words. And then he would say, Dad, who's his dad? Wanda. Wanda was Dad. Oh, okay. I was so confused. And so I'm telling Kenny, okay, we got to wrap it up and get home, because the next day my cousin was coming by my place and Kenny was going to help him build a shed. And so I wanted him to get home so that he wasn't too intoxicated so he could get up the next day. So, Ken says, yeah, we have to take off. We got to build this shed in the morning. Cliff starts to, He says, you got to go pound some wood. I'm looking at him and I'm like confused. And I don't understand we get in the car and I looked at Ken and I said, why did that man think you're going to be building a shed at this time of night? I soon found out that wasn't what that was. The next story I want to tell you is when Wanda was sick in the hospital and Fee had to fend for himself, and he'd become very dependent on Wanda. And so he called me up. He says, man, I want to cook this chicken. I don't know how to cook this thing. I said, well, what are you trying to cook? This shake and bake thing? How you do this? I said, for someone so smart, I said, you're in real trouble now, right? So I explained to him, you put it in the bag, you shake it, and you put it in the oven and you bake it. Not me, man, find something else. I'm pretty sure that Wanda got out of the hospital quick, because the man was going to starve otherwise. Anyhow, Wanda, you did a wonderful job looking after him right till the end, and we so appreciate it. He was a great, great guy.
I like how Rachel introduced herself. I am Rachel, I'm Ken's wife. I am Tony, I'm nobody's husband. The last place you would go is a funeral or a celebration like this, but you never know. Is there anybody else that would like to come up here and speak about the Mighty Fee? Some experiences? I should have listened to him a long time ago, years ago. I went over to his place and I said, I have some money. I think I'm going to invest in gold. He says, gold? No, man. Don't invest in gold. So I didn't invest in gold. Another time I went and I says, well, look, Fee, I really want to invest this money. Maybe, plutonium or something like that. He says, no, man. Invest in silicone. I should have listened to Fee. Look at how popular silicone is now. Bags and bags of silicone walking around. No? No? That kind of went over your head? There's money in silicone. Okay. Anyone else would like to come up here and share some experiences from the school? He taught in school in Stonewall for a very, very long time. And are there any students there? No, you guys look too old to be students. But is there anyone else that would like to share some experiences? Please, come up.
Yeah, I got a good one. So, when I was little, which quite a long time ago, I guess I was 10 when my dad took me to Trinidad. So, I was a normal little kid, right? Little curly hair, I was, cute like my little grandson over there. And we were going to the beach. So I'm excited. I've never been to the beach in Trinidad. I'm going yeah, this should be real fun. So as they're going down the mountain, it's like it was a mountain. We must have been coming down the mountain, going towards the water. Going up was an ambulance. And so my dad told me that, someone had drowned. And I was like, oh, that's pretty bad, Dad. He goes, yeah, son, you got to be careful. Man, my feet hit the sand and I was in the water. And next thing I knew, my dad was chasing me because he was trying to protect me, because I didn't know what undercurrent meant. So he kind of, I guess, rosied my cheeks, I guess. if that's the easiest way I could say it, but you know, I learned a good lesson that day to just be calm and don't rush things in life because it's just too much. You know, I have to say thank you to Wanda. She took care of my father right to the end, and she's a strong woman. You know, she's my stepmom, and she's a strong woman, and I love her so much for what she did. And I just wanted to say thank you to you for that. Have a good day. Hey, Leo. Come here. This is Cliff's great-grandson. His name is Leo Calvin. My daughter named him after her grandfather and me. And like I said, this is Cliff's great-grandson.
That's wonderful. Anyone else would like to share a few words? Are you getting all loosened up now because the reception is soon to begin? Yeah. I want to leave you with a few words. We've had a lot of laughter here today. We've had a lot of memories, and we shared a lot of memories, and we had a lot of, there was some tears, but mostly there was laughter and good times. I'd like to leave you with a few words, and it goes like this. This life is yours. Take the power to choose what you want to do with it, and do it well. Take the power to love what you want in life and love it honestly. Take the power to walk the trails and be a part of nature. Take the power to control your own life. No one else can do it for you. Take the power to make your life happy. Be happy. And that's how I saw Fee. Thank you. Let's thank everybody that were here today, and thank Rudvin for the music, and the reception will continue, and there is food, there's drinks, there's music, there's dancing, there's whatever. So don't be afraid. Thank you very much.